Welcome back to our channel here at YouTube. Today we got another install video especially for you with our ArmorTech door install on a Can-Am Defender. Before we get too far ahead, let's have a look at that tool list. Okay, so we've already removed the safety netting for you. That is a T30 Torx. It's got some bolts in the floor, a post here and there. Okay, we'll also remove our bolster bar. Right there, the bar sits right at your shoulder when you're riding. We'll remove that. But be sure, if you take our doors off, to put those safety restraints back on. To remove this bolster bar, you'll need a ratchet and a 10mm socket, and a T30 Torx wrench. Go ahead and pop the seat off. We'll pull this seat belt out of our way, slip this over the headrest, and we'll focus our attention to the bottom bolts here. Now these bolts, we need to be careful with them. They have a tendency to want to strip. The yellow Loctite from Can-Am, some pretty good stuff. Now we'll want to hang on to these factory bolts we just removed from the lower portion of the bolster bar, so we're going to reinstall those here in just a minute. Now we'll take our T30 Torx and remove the upper bolt. We'll reinstall that bolt back into place. We'll locate our hardware bag and find our hinges. Okay. And we'll go ahead and bolt those onto the jamb prior to affixing it to the unit. And we will want the female portion of the hinge to be on the downward side of the jamb, and the other half of the hinge will mount to the door with the male prong facing downwards into that hinge. We'll affix the hinge to the jamb utilizing our 1/4 by 5/8 Phillips panhead screws. And one thing I'd like to point out is there's slots here, and that allows for vertical adjustment later on when we're adjusting our door to latch properly. And we'll back that screw with a flat washer, a lock washer, and a 1/4 inch nut. And we'll get these just finger snug. And we'll put the second hinge on the bottom portion of the jamb in the same manner. Locate bracket A in your hardware bag, as well as the two 6mm flanged head screws that were factory we just removed from the bolster bar. We'll go ahead and install this bracket at this time. Go right back in the same post where the bolster bar was once mounted. And we'll get both of these screws started into position. Now we'll take our 3/8 ratchet and 10mm socket and we'll snug these up. Now we'll find bracket B in our hardware bag, and this is going to wrap around the bar just underneath the seatbelt post, and we'll utilize these two holes to through bolt and attach our jamb. Now you'll find this long 60mm flanged head screw, and it comes with a jam nut on it. We'll loosen that jam nut, and in the top hole of the jam, and we'll start that in this threaded tab off the bottom of the frame. We'll go ahead and get that started. I want to point out that the holes in our bracket B that affix to our jamb, as well as the hole in the jamb, they are slots to allow this jamb to float. Sometimes we run out of adjustments with our door, and so this is a good thing to back up to when you're out of options. We'll start with our jamb seated all the way back, and we'll go ahead and tighten this up. Now we'll back this with our 6mm jamb nut and take our 10mm wrench and just give that a light snug. In our hardware bag, we'll locate our Phillips panhead 1/4 by 1 inch screws, and now we'll attach bracket B utilizing that hardware. And we'll back these with a flat washer and a lock nut. Now we'll fix the lower portion of our jamb to bracket A utilizing the same hardware. Now utilizing our Phillips P3 bit and our impact driver and our 7/16 wrench, we'll go ahead and tighten this down now that everything's started. We'll repeat the same process on the opposite side. And we'll locate bracket CR. This is our passenger striker plate, and bracket D, which is our weld nut backing plate. This backing plate will slide under this welded gusset on the framework here, and the corresponding horizontal slots will align. And we'll utilize our button head 8mm by 16mm screw and a flat washer to affix this to the unit. We'll get that top hole realigned there and get the top bolt started. Also in our hardware bag, we'll locate our striker bolt. We'll remove the nut. There's multiple washers here to where you can shim that bolt. We'll start with one washer on the back and one on the front. We'll get that tight. I'd like to take this time to point out a few points of adjustment. In the bracket itself, we've got horizontal and vertical adjustment. And then the striker bolt, we've got some adjustment there also. We're going to find the center point, or our best guess thereof, and just lightly snug these just to give us a starting location using our 5mm Allen wrench on the bracket. Now we'll take our 11/16 wrench and our 3/4 inch wrench, and we'll also guess right about center, and we'll lightly snug that for a starting point. So now we'll mount the hinge to the door in the same fashion as which we mounted the hinges to the jamb. Male portion of the hinge facing downward will slip into the jamb like so, and we'll utilize the same hardware. Again, our 1/4 by 5/8 Phillips panhead screws, and we'll back those with a flat washer, a lock washer, and a nut. Now on the door, we have horizontal slots for proper alignment. Now we'll just find the best center, and we'll finger tight the nuts on the back as a starting point, And we'll install the other leaf of the hinge on the bottom portion of the door. Now we'll grab the door and put it on the post. I like to grab it by the bottom here and the front nose and turn it 90 degrees to the machine. And I'm watching my lower pin and upper pin, and we'll drop those simultaneously. In our hardware bag, we'll find one of the pre-made sacks that has 3 different length 6mm bolts. We'll select the center length, which is our 25mm, and our jam nut. We'll go ahead and put a jam nut onto the screw and run it up about halfway. This is going to extend the length of our push button on the handle. And for this particular door on this model unit, we'll run that 25mm length all the way up until it bottoms out, and then we'll run that jam nut up. Now we'll snug that jam nut with a 10mm wrench, and it's set. Now in a separate sealed bag, we'll find our 30mm length 3 screws with 3 flat washers, and we'll bolt into this pattern here that corresponds to the nutserts in the handle. Now before installing the handle, we'll go ahead and place our gasket, our seals, onto the outer perimeter of the handle. Can only go one way. Just give that a firm push onto the handle there, and carefully stick that to the door. Now we'll insert our bolts through the door into the handle. Get all 3 started. Now your latch will come tight to the latch bracket, but I've loosened it up for you to show you that there is also an adjustment point in the latch bracket itself. Those 4 bolt holes are slotted. Now everything is roughed in. Now it's time to make our final adjustments on the door. So the first thing I'm looking at is our body lines to make sure that they match, and also how well is our door fitting into the space that we're given from Can-Am here. Right out of the gate, I noticed this body line is a little bit low, so I'd probably want to pick that up a little bit. Another point I want to pay attention to is the gap. You notice we're tight at the top and low at the bottom. You can take a screw or a wrench, you know, of the same thickness and get that gap and that shim correct. Now we'll focus our attention on the latching inside here with our striker plate and our bolt and our latch. It looks like we're just a little bit on the high side, so I'll take my 5mm wrench and make this adjustment. We'll lightly snug that back up and check it again. This process may need to be repeated several times so you can get it lined up correctly. We're really concerned about the height of our striker bolt, which is controlled by our plate. We want to see those paws coming in at the exact same time. Our bottom paw is pinching a little bit more, so that means we need to bring our striker bolt up just a touch. See how our prongs are coming together at the same time now? That tells us our height is pretty good. Now the second part of this is when we latch, we should have a double click when we shut. And we're having difficulties getting that to happen. So we'll take our 11/16 wrench and our 3/4 wrench, and we'll move this striker bolt out just a little bit. We'll snug that back down. All right, now can we get 2 clicks? There we go. So there's the first click, there's the second. That's much easier. And the more serious you take this adjustment point, and the better we can get this door to latch, the more you're going to enjoy the way these doors open and close. Now we'll grab our impact and our 7/16 wrench with our window open, and we'll reach through here and tighten up all of these hinge bolts. And your ArmorTech doors are now completely installed. As always, we hope you enjoy them on your next ride. Thanks for watching.